There's some noise in here. I gotta turn the fan off. Oh yeah, it's noisy. Alright. Quick roundabout of the studio. Storage closet. Stuff I used to get into. Used to get into graphics and architecture and stuff. I went to school. Alright, bunch of cases. There's most of these guitars are on the floor. Here's my bass, my buddy Ken. Alright. I try to keep that off somewhere safe. Let me try to back up so you can see. And then, man, listen to that fan, that's about had it. I should clean it maybe. Alright, here's my desk. I keep tubes and stuff in a handy little box there. It's a 68. That's an actual 1968 Preamp. My foot switch, which I use those expression pedals, and the switch gives you a little mode button where you can on off different features. Yeah, it's good for the bypass of the effects, and it's good for starting and stopping your recording of your samples. A KSR series distortion pedal preamp. I like it a lot. It's kind of bright, and you know, I set mine up. It's got two different distortions here. With one is very similar. It's just got more bass. What's weird about recording is how much bottom end you can put in there, and how much you feel needs to come out. We'll talk about this FL Studio. That's the let me roll camera here with this thing too. Okay, so now that's how I record the videos. I hit that little button there, and I sit here and jam. We'll talk more about that. I keep a Fender Stratocaster in here. That's the Her model. I really like the color. I think the fret dots are cool too. And underneath, this is a Rick. There's the 62012. You gotta check out this headstock. These things are so sweet. Sounds very cool. Take a look at this one. This is when I was a kid in the 80s. I built this guitar. I had a friend, you know, I had bought this guitar from a company that made guitars called Nova or Buscarino, and then I put the pickups in and did the electronics. And back then I couldn't set intonation, so I took it to a guy and he set the intonation on it. It's been good ever since. It's my main storage for soldering stuff. Keep all my soldering stuff in there. Yeah, this one's been around. Used to be blue. Used to be wood grain. That's a coat. That's just primer. Alright. Here's a Javier Guitar. You can get these from Guitar Fetish. They're only a couple $100, and you can do, I use it for modifications. I ended up putting new tuners on here. Shaler locking tuners. We ended up having to remove the shim from under the nut. Hey, Sonny buddy. I put Gibson 57 Classic pickups in it. That's Fishman triple play, and this is an LR Bags piezo pickup. There's the Fishman triple play. You can see some additional controls on here for the piezo. And then Gibson Explorer. These are Birchbucker Pro pickups. It's called an Explorer 120. It's from 2014. And this is a Gibson Es335. Probably my favorite one of them. My favorite of all my guitars. With DiMarzio DP103 pickups. It's in good condition. No damage has happened to that one. And here's another one. This one's in good condition as well. It hasn't been damaged. The Ibanez Universe 7-string UV77 SVR. And they stamped the serial number in here. Really hard for me to film that. I can't say enough good things about this guitar. I'm so happy with it. Okay, that's a camera battery that's charging. Up here is my little gizmo decoration shelf, which you never really get to see. Here's the serial number for my guitar. The matching goodies. My wife just got me this flashlight. The Sir Pete Thorne signature standard, and I kind of keep the bar a little bit tight. The thing sounds amazing. This is the Ibanez, or this is ESP E2 M2 Kitty with a tremolo, no tremolo. It's called the NT hip shot tremolo. Those are bare knuckle aftermath pickups, totally kick ass. Gibson Les Paul 2014. It's got the emblem. And 59 tribute pickups, which I think are kick-ass. Yeah, I like straps, and I gotta keep all my guitars have straps on them. Mirrors about the room. Let's see. The electronics, all the power, all the stuff. So, some cable management ideas, you know. 6 guitars are plugged in. This one's wireless, except you can plug it in and get the pickups. So when this thing is plugged in, you get these 2 pickups plus these 2 pickups. This is wireless, and these you blend with the blend knob, and you get piezo, mag, and MIDI. So when that guitar, just playing one passage, you can get all sorts of noises coming from it. Very amazing. Alright, now back to this conglomerate. A handful of preamps. I'm really into preamps. I wish I had every preamp that they ever made. And I'm really kind of jealous everybody else has these killer preamps and killer rigs. This is a Victorilux amplifier. Alright, but starting here, man, is the Black Widow on the bottom. It's a pretty new device. If I don't know, how can I describe it? It's louder, it's beefier, it's not like the 80s preamps. It's got MIDI, It's got 3 channels. And so yeah, I have it set up with MIDI and it works just fine. Marshall JMP from the 80s. It was probably late 80s when that thing came out, and then MP1 above it. 80A MP1 is from, you know, 87 or 88. The Rockman XPR, that thing we used to have in an amplifier called the XP100, and they put it in this rack mount format. This one happens to be a pre-production prototype. It still works, but there's some sticky buttons on it. And then, you know, Eventide Orville for my effects. It's pretty much the only unit I use. There's no pedals, just the Eventide. It's a complex unit, so it's taken me a long time to learn it. There's a bunch of different things you can do. The H8000 is a backup because one day the Eventide went out. I freaked out. About a week later I couldn't take it no more. So I bought an H8000 used off eBay or off Reverb. So you can see, I don't know, let's try to take a look. The display has a little line in it, and this display's got a little blurb in the top corner. So I just kind of have to deal with that. Alright. A switchblade here, this is a Midi controller. So everything plugs into this unit, all of this stuff, and changing patches is all controlled by this guy. It controls, it has like a mixer inside where it can take all of the stuff going in and out and mix it for you, and then save that as a preset. So it's kind of the hub. It's the, can't say enough good things about Switchblade GL. You couldn't really build a big old guitar rig without one, so yeah, I really like them. I mean, a couple of new solutions now, I would say, but for us oldies, that thing's been doing good. Alright, some power amplification. These are just power. There's no preamp. You can't plug a guitar into it. You gotta plug a preamp into it. And then I've got a Vintage 30 and a creamback speaker. 1 and 1. And it's 100 watts, and I still haven't blown my speakers somehow. I just don't crank them too much. This is the PV. It's got Alnico Blues, and it has 2 of them. So 30 watts on a 50 watt load. I'm not using the second channel. I'm only using the 1 channel of this thing. It's not in mono, so I'm not pushing 100 watts. If you could put this thing in mono mode and make it 100 watts, but I haven't done that. All right, Marshalls. G12 M20 speakers. I have 2 of those. G12 H75 speakers. I have 2 of those. So what is that? That's a 40 watt load on a 50 watt amp. This is I think a 60 watt load on a 50 watt amp. So this amplifier is pretty much wide open, as is this one. It's wide open. The Mesa, no. The Mesa's at like 1 o'clock, the top ones. Alright. Marshall amplifier, 1974. Marshall JMP. No jumper inputs, just the 1 input. Everything straight up. That's all it does, but it does really good. It sounds amazing. It's loud. Victoria Sovereign. This amp kicks ass. I think it's got mullered tubes. It's got a tube rectifier. It's more of a JTM. Coming around, coming around. Here's that Victorlux. tube rectified. Army Fireface AES converters. These take your optical and convert them to AES, and this is what the H8000 is running from. Oh boy. So this is an 1173 mic preamp, and I'm running it with its compressor. So where's that? Here's the compressor department. Here's the little readout. And then these are, underneath that are these Dave Hill Designs Europa 1s. Second and third order harmonic preamps. Pretty weird. Here's another switchblade. So I can have 30 channels. It would be 32, but you use 2 of them to connect. So there's 30 channels of interoperability. And here's a Mesa Boogie rectifier recording preamp. I don't know what to say. It's a Mesa. The light's burnt out. It's not the bulb. Then DRS Q4 mic preamp with EQ, so handy. Here's another one. I've flipped the phase on it. I did phase align all my shit. Great River. Kind of see the ins and outs. More outs than in. And then the TC1210. That's the chorus flanger unit. All of this is part of an enclosure. But I've taken the enclosure off so I can just have the frame. So here's all the equipment. It's stuffed into this rack unit front to back. And you can't really get it in and out of there. You have to slide the units out to do anything. So yeah, I'm not really moving cables around. That's the idea though. I don't want to move cables ever. The only monitors I have are these JBLs. And FL Studio. This mixer. Try to get the camera. This mixer is going to show how all of your audio is handled in your DAW. So here's the drums on each channel. The drums come all the way down here to this drum bus, and then the drum bus has a few plug-ins. Fab filter, LA2A compressor, and the Fruity limiter. So over here are those plugins. EQs are something I don't really keep permanent. I set them every day I want to use one, so I'll just set it as I go. Let's see. Same with the compressor. You want to crank it depending on how much is going through the limiter. Alright, back over to here. So that's kind of how the drums go. And then they'll move. Battery's getting low. Back to the mixer. So after the drums it goes into the mix bus, and the mix bus has SSL comp and limiter. So I'm usually looking at this limiter here as I'm playing. The song will mix. You add guitars in there, and I make sure nothing's getting too loud. That comes after the compressor. It's kind of like a viewer, so I can see the wave file, and I know if I'm doing something stupid. Alright, here's the bass mix bus. Usually bass gets limited, so here's the music mix bus. It doesn't have any plugins on it. Here's my guitar sub bus where the guitars do get some fab filter EQ. This is very subtle, like 2 decibel moves, and then I almost always add another fab filter and follow behind with more EQ if I want to really customize something. Alright, wet and dry. These are sub buses where whenever I'm recording I can just record the wet and dry. But to the right here you have my send bus, which sends all the stuff out to effects, and you can see down here, can you? So there's where it sends to the effects. It also connects here. Send has these parameter wires that go to the H8000 A and B. Those are those digital connections. Alright, and everything goes into those. So here's the effects independent returns. So once you send out, you have all of your effects here. Here's the speakers, Alnico Blue. I have a playback and a tracking channel for my metal speakers because you record, you end up with 4 of these playing, and you can pan them differently. That's why these panning controls are set right here. Alright, so I mix some of the 4 speakers however I want, and then if I want to keep recording those parts, I just record the tracking channels. They automatically go into the playback channels, which are customized. So I don't ever have to worry about screwing things up when I'm mixing up 4 different speakers. Here's the Redback G12 M20 So these are the 2 Marshalls. Here's the Marshall, here's the Victoria Sovereign and the Marshall JMP, the Victoria Victorolux. Here's the bass DI, triple play, MIDI, Omni, Sphere, MIDI. Here's a CD input so I can listen to CDs. Not much else to show. And those guitar magazines to buy on the cover. My jump drawer. Miscellaneous cables in case I do want to jumper the front. MIDI. Picks. Straps. Guitar strings, deoxit, fast fret. I don't really use fast fret anymore. It's a very old can. That can's like 20 years old, 30. Me and the kiddo on vacation. I'm going to do a quick demonstration. Let's see if this stuff working. Batteries are not good. Start by tripping a couple of these tracks. I'm going to record stuff from the just pick 2 speakers. chord. Alright, so I got those two. I'm going to go to a couple of different ones. Pull up a different patch. And stop, Sonny. Alright. Alright, now I'm going to mix. You see what happens here when I press play. To pick your favorites. And then those are transferred by recording the wet and dry. So now I've got the wet and dry. I can consider adding EQ. Start with something here. So it's an uneven shape. I'm going to try to shape it up a little bit. It's a little bit too hot. Instead of recording the wet and dry, I'm going to record the EQ channel. same thing without the EQ.